After filming over 40 hours of test footage on the S26 Ultra while building the greatest LUT of all time for Samsung Log, I finally cracked the code on the best settings for pro video in Samsung's camera app. Settings that take your footage from looking like it was shot on your mum's smartphone to something that looks like it came from a pocket cinema camera. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to configure the S26 Ultra for maximum image quality in 3 stages. First, 3 settings that will instantly improve your footage. Then, we'll dive into more advanced, lesser-known settings for imaging maniacs who want to go from good to great, including hidden options most people don't even know exist. And finally, I'll take you beyond settings and show you the one filmmaking technique used on cinema cameras to achieve the ultimate film look. And to celebrate the launch of Epic LUTs for Samsung Log, there's a 20% discount code in the pinned comment for a limited time. There are chapters in the player if you want to jump around. Let's dive in. There are 3 settings that are going to make the biggest difference to your image quality on the S26 Ultra. Those are Samsung Log, the new APV codec, and shooting at the correct resolution and frame rate. Get these right and your footage will instantly look so much better than the default settings. Let's start with Samsung Log, because this is the foundation of the entire workflow. To enable Log, we first need to switch to Pro Video mode, which unlocks all the controls we need. Open the Samsung camera app, tap More, and here is Pro Video mode hidden out of sight. But we don't want this buried under More every time we open the camera. If you're serious about video, Pro Video mode should just be one tap away. Tap Edit, drag Pro Video mode into the main mode selector, and tap Save. Now Pro Video mode is always accessible. There's just one more thing to fix. If you close the camera and reopen it, Samsung resets the mode back to photo mode, which is annoying. To stop that happening, open Quick Controls, tap the cog icon, scroll down to Settings to Keep, and enable camera mode. Now the camera will reopen exactly where you left it. So now we're in Pro Video mode, let's configure it properly, because out of the box just about everything here is set up wrong if your goal is the highest quality video possible. The first thing you'll notice is that the camera is set to HDR, which bakes in a truly awful look into our footage. If you want the best image quality, switch this to Samsung Log. Immediately the image becomes flat and desaturated, but that's intentional. Log is designed to capture maximum dynamic range and color information, giving you complete control over the final look later. But this introduces a new problem. It's now much harder to judge exposure because the image looks so washed out. To solve this issue, Samsung provides preview LUTs, which allow you to see what the footage will look like after grading without actually baking that look into the video. Tap LUT and select Standard. This converts the preview to Rec 709, which is the standard color space used for web and television. Your recording is still in Samsung Log, but now you have a much clearer view of how the final image will look. Next, we need to configure frame rate and resolution. By default, Samsung sets this to 1080p at 30 frames per second, which is not what we want if we're chasing the film look. Tap the frame rate and resolution control and switch to UHD 4K at 24 frames per second. 24 FPS has been the standard for motion picture capture for over a century, and it produces the motion cadence most people associate with film. You might be wondering why we're not using 8K, especially on a phone capable of recording it. After extensive testing, I actually recommend 4K for 3 important reasons. First, file sizes are dramatically smaller, which becomes important once we switch to the new APV codec. Second, it makes available 60 and 120 FPS recording for slow motion. And third, and most important, dynamic range and color fidelity improve, because in 4K the sensor uses pixel binning, combining multiple pixels into one larger pixel to produce a cleaner signal. Simply put, 4K delivers a better image. And that brings us to one of the biggest upgrades on the S26 Ultra, the new APV codec, which stands for Advanced Professional Video. Think of this as Samsung's answer to Apple ProRes. It records using all intra-compression with 422 color subsampling, which preserves significantly more image information than standard HEVC recording. The downside is that it uses a lot more storage, but if maximum quality is your priority, enable it. Tap Quick Controls, open Settings, then Video Format, scroll to the bottom and enable APV. Then tap APV to open its settings. First thing to do here is switch from HDR to Log. Below that you'll see two options, APV HQ and APV LQ. HQ uses a bitrate roughly twice as high as LQ, around 600 megabits per second, and is ideal for critical work like commercials or music videos. But most of the time, LQ is actually the smarter choice. You still get 10-bit 422 color and all intra-encoding, but at roughly half the file size. Return to the camera and enable the APV toggle. Now you're recording the highest quality video the S26 Ultra can capture in the native camera app. When you end a recording, in the Gallery app, you can apply one of Samsung's built-in LUTs to your log video and save it as a new file. Great for sharing quickly, but Samsung's LUTs butcher skin tones and don't preserve middle grey. While they're definitely better than shooting in HDR, we can do so much better. For truly pro results, use a LUT like Gloat for Samsung Log that is carefully crafted to deliver stunning skin tones and a filmic color palette that pops, for a gorgeous image that is instantly ready to publish with no further edits needed. For more stylized film looks, check out the Epic Film Look LUT pack for Samsung Log for the ultimate suite of creative looks. Whatever LUT you're using for Samsung Log, you can apply them directly on your device using the app LumaFusion or on a computer using DaVinci Resolve, which is free. At this point, your footage quality has already taken a huge leap forward. Think of these as the essential settings, the foundation for great-looking video. But the S26 Ultra is capable of even more. Next, we're going to move into the more advanced and little-known settings, including features hidden inside Camera Assistant that unlock even better results. We'll also cover two settings you should avoid entirely because they can destroy your footage. But before we explore video stabilization and the Camera Assistant, I'm going to show you two settings you should enable for a better video experience. Tap to open Quick Controls, then Settings. First of all, under General Settings, enable the Composition Guide. Tap it again and here you can enable both grid lines and level, or just one of them. I typically find grid lines and level really helpful for framing and enable them both. Tap back. Next, under Swipe Preview Up Down to, change this from Switch Cameras to Open Quick Controls. This not only makes it easy to access settings, but prevents you from accidentally switching to the selfie camera via a horizontal swipe. Now, let's talk about video stabilization. If we scroll back up to the video settings, you can see that video stabilization is enabled by default. And you might be wondering, is this the best setting for stabilization? This is complex and the answer is, it depends. What this video stabilization is electronic stabilization or EIS. This is software based and performs a significant crop in on your video in order to stabilize it. That's the con. But the pro is it works incredibly well, especially if you are panning or walking while filming. However, if you're not panning or walking, disabling this will give you your full field of view and look much more natural. When video stabilization is disabled, OIS or optical image stabilization is still active, which is built into the lens. It does a great job of stabilizing gentle handheld movement, but when walking, you can see there is some corner distortion present. My advice is, if you're using a tripod, gimbal, or performing gentle handheld capture free from fast pans and dolly shots, disable video stabilization. However, if you're moving or panning while filming handheld, leave it on. It does a really impressive job. Now, let's talk about a little-known feature on Samsung devices, Camera Assistant. Camera Assistant is an app made by Samsung that you will need to download that provides access to a deeper level of settings. It can be accessed from the camera settings at the bottom by tapping on Camera Assistant. If this is your first time using it, you will be required to download it from the Galaxy Store. Once installed, this provides access to one of the most essential settings for Pro Video under the Video settings, Video Softening. Immediately set this to high. This will disable Samsung's aggressive digital sharpening, or at least wind it back enough to deliver a much more pleasing image that looks more natural. This one setting alone will do the most to stop your S26 Ultra looking like smartphone video and more like a pocket cinema camera. Look at the difference between video softening on and off. Next, above it, you can see that Camera Assistant actually allows you to completely disable optical image stabilization, which is on by default without this app. The main reason you would choose to disable this is if you're stabilizing in post-production. For most use cases, I recommend you leave this on. Next, scroll down to Camera Preview and change the camera timeout from 2 minutes to 5 or 10. There is nothing more annoying than the camera app automatically closing in between takes. And directly beneath it, tap Customize Indicators, then Video Indicators, and enable Exposure and Ratio. This will place both on the sidebar, although at time of recording a bug prevents exposure from showing in Pro Video mode. Hopefully this will be fixed soon. Tap back. And lastly, scroll up to Focus, and under Focus Peaking in Pro modes, enable Always Show Focus Peaking, and increase the line thickness to thick. This will display when you make manual focus adjustments and really help ensure focus is razor sharp. Remember how earlier I said there were 2 settings that could ruin your footage if you enable them? I wasn't joking. The first is manual white balance. Samsung devices have a long-standing manual white balance bug, which as soon as it's enabled, it applies an ugly color cast to your image. I've been reporting this to them for years, but apparently they don't care. So make sure you leave your white balance set to auto. If you need manual white balance, then use Blackmagic Camera. Third-party apps do not have this issue. And second is the Save to External Storage option under Settings, Video. At launch, the S26 Ultra has a major system-wide bug that only supports USB 2.0 speeds for external storage. This is way too slow. Try it and you'll get dropped frames and glitched video. As soon as this is fixed, I'll update the pinned comment under this video letting you know, but until then, avoid it like the plague. Congratulations! Your S26 Ultra is now configured to capture the highest quality video it possibly can in APV, giving you a blank canvas to dial in the perfect look using LUTs thanks to Samsung Log, and an image free from aggressive digital over-sharpening thanks to Camera Assistant. But correct settings alone do not guarantee perfect video. To achieve this, there is one final exposure technique you should learn to master that you can apply to every camera you will ever use to achieve filmic motion blur: the 180-degree shutter rule. Simply put, by using a shutter speed of 1/50th, which is approximately double our frame rate, we unlock cinematic motion blur that goes hand in hand with 24 FPS capture. By default, when exposure is set to auto, your phone will jack up the shutter speed, which results in video with zero motion blur. Every frame is tack sharp. As a result, it looks like smartphone video, not a cinema camera. But if we tap on shutter speed, switch from auto to manual, and set this to double our frame rate, so 1/50th, we have instantly transformed the S26 Ultra into a cinema camera. But obviously we have a problem. The shot is totally blown out. Even if we tap on ISO, switch to manual, and set it as low as possible, it's still blown out. This is why an ND filter is absolutely essential if you want to achieve cinematic motion blur in daylight conditions. I bought this ND filter set from Freewell years ago for my S23 Ultra, and it works perfectly with all Ultra models since, including the S26 Ultra, when paired with the Freewell Pro Filmmaker case. There are 4 strengths, and they allow me to reduce the amount of light entering the lens. Check the pinned comment for a link and discount code. Now I can get perfect exposure with filmic motion blur for the ultimate film look, and I can adjust exposure manually using the ISO slider only in combination with the correct strength ND filter. And what's amazing about the S26 Ultra is we can lock our shutter and leave ISO in auto. This is now using something called shutter priority mode, where your shutter speed is preserved for smooth motion blur, but auto exposure still functions by adjusting ISO only automatically. This is a feature usually reserved for high-end cameras. If you want to lock exposure completely, just tap on ISO and switch that to manual too. Congratulations! Your Samsung S26 Ultra is now configured to capture the highest quality video it possibly can, but more importantly, you now understand why these settings matter and how to combine them with proper shooting technique to achieve the film look. With Samsung Log, the APV codec, the right camera configuration, and the 180-degree shutter rule, this phone is capable of producing seriously stunning images. If you found this guide helpful, hit like, it really helps the channel. And if you want your Samsung Log footage to look its absolute best, check out Epic LUTs for Samsung Log, including glow, the greatest lot of all time, you'll find the 20% launch discount in the pinned comment for a limited time only. And if you want to learn how to push smartphone filmmaking even further, subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel is all about. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.